Groovy English Podcast.
Hey there! Welcome back to Groovy English. I'm Chloe.
And I'm Aiden. We share real stories, useful tips, and everyday English to help you grow with confidence.
Wherever you are in your English learning journey, we're glad you're here.
If you're enjoying the podcast, feel free to like, subscribe, or share it with a friend. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome to Groovy English. I'm your host, Isabella. Today, I want to share something deeply personal, how I use English not just as a language to learn or communicate, but as a tool for healing and self-reflection. This is a story about the emotional side of language learning, and how English became more than just words to me. We all go through ups and downs in life. Sometimes we feel happy, hopeful, and energized, and other times we feel lost, tired, or even broken. For me, English became a way to process those feelings, to make sense of the messiness inside my mind, and to gently heal. If you've ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, or unsure about your learning journey, this episode is for you. Let's dive in. When I first started learning English, it was all about rules, grammar, and vocabulary. I studied hard, memorized lists, and practiced speaking whenever I could. But I soon realized that language isn't just about knowledge. It's also about feeling. About connection. About the stories we tell ourselves. One of the most surprising things I discovered was how English gave me a new way to reflect on my emotions. Writing in English, even simple sentences about my day or how I felt, became a form of therapy. It was like I was talking to a trusted friend, someone who didn't judge my mistakes or misunderstand me. Sometimes I would keep a journal in English. I would write about the difficult moments, the heartbreaks, the fears, but also the small joys, a smile from a stranger, a good cup of coffee, a sunny morning. Writing in English slowed down my thoughts. It made me choose my words carefully, and in doing so, I started to understand myself better. There was one night I remember vividly. I was feeling overwhelmed and anxious. Instead of scrolling mindlessly on my phone, I opened my journal app and typed, "I feel tired but I'm still trying. I am learning to be patient with myself." It wasn't perfect English, but it was honest. That simple act of putting feelings into words helped me calm down and sleep better. English also became my way to practice mindfulness. Listening to podcasts, watching shows, or reading stories wasn't just about language anymore. It was about being present in the moment. When I focused on the sounds, the rhythm, the expressions, I felt grounded. It gave me a break from negative thoughts and worries. And when I spoke English out loud, even if just to myself, I felt empowered. The voice I used was gentle, kind, and encouraging. I would say things like, "You're doing your best. It's okay to take a break." Speaking these affirmations in English helped me rewire my mindset. But it wasn't always easy. There were days when the words didn't come, when I felt frustrated or stuck. Sometimes, I was scared of making mistakes or sounding silly. But I learned to embrace imperfection. Healing isn't perfect. Reflection isn't perfect. It's messy, raw, and beautiful. One thing that truly helped was creating rituals around English that felt nurturing. For example, every morning, I would read a short poem or quote in English that inspired me. It set a positive tone for the day. In the evenings, I'd listen to calming music or guided meditations in English to relax my mind. These small practices built a safe space for me, a mental sanctuary where English wasn't just a subject to study but a companion in my emotional journey. It became a language of self-love and growth. Another powerful experience was sharing my journey with others. I found online communities where people talked openly about their struggles and triumphs in learning English. Reading their stories and writing my own made me feel less alone. It was a reminder that healing is a shared human experience. English also helped me build bridges to different cultures and perspectives. Reading stories from around the world or listening to podcasts introduced me to ideas and experiences that expanded my understanding of life. This broadened view helped me heal by putting my problems into perspective. I remember once reading a poem in English about resilience and strength. The words resonated so deeply that I saved the poem and read it whenever I felt low. Language became a source of comfort and courage. Sometimes, I used English to write letters, not to send them, but just to express things I couldn't say out loud. Letters to my younger self, to someone I lost touch with, or even to my future self. These letters helped me process complex feelings and find closure. Another tool was gratitude journaling in English. Writing down 3 things I was grateful for each day shifted my focus from what was missing or painful to what was good in my life. This practice slowly rewired my brain to notice the positive, even on tough days. Over time, English became a mirror reflecting not just my words, but my inner world. It helped me see patterns in my thoughts, recognize triggers for stress, and celebrate small victories. I also started to notice the power of stories, the stories we tell ourselves and the ones we hear from others. By engaging with English stories, I learned how narratives shape our identity and emotions. I even tried writing my own short stories in English, using them as a way to imagine new possibilities for myself. When I felt overwhelmed, I found comfort in simple English phrases. This too shall pass. One step at a time. Be kind to yourself. Repeating these mantras out loud became a gentle reminder that healing is a process. Importantly, I stopped measuring my progress by traditional standards. Instead of focusing on grammar tests or fluency benchmarks, I paid attention to how English made me feel. Did it help me calm down? Did it inspire me? Did it connect me with others? Those became my true markers of success. In moments of loneliness, English podcasts became my friends. Listening to familiar voices, stories, and even laughter created a sense of belonging. I realized that language isn't just words, it's connection, empathy, and community. I also started using English to dream. Writing down my hopes, goals, and desires in English made them feel more real and achievable. It gave me motivation to keep going, even when things were hard. Sometimes, when I made mistakes speaking or writing, instead of beating myself up, I asked myself, what can I learn from this? That shift in mindset transformed mistakes into opportunities for healing and growth. The process of healing with English taught me patience. with myself and with the language. I learned to honor where I was in my journey, without rushing or comparing. I want to encourage you, if you're feeling overwhelmed or lost, try using English as a gentle tool to explore your feelings. Write a few words, listen to something soothing, or speak to yourself kindly. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be honest. English became my safe space, a place where I could be vulnerable, explore my emotions, and find hope. And it can be that for you too. When I think back on my earliest experiences with English, I realize they were often tied to emotions I didn't fully understand at the time. I remember feeling both excited and nervous when I first tried to speak English with a stranger. That mix of anticipation and fear is something many of us know well. But what surprised me was how those moments became a mirror for my own feelings, showing me courage I didn't know I had. English gave me a new language not just to communicate, but to express emotions that felt too complex or new in my native tongue. Sometimes it was easier to describe sadness or hope in English because the words carried a different weight. It was almost like learning to feel in a new way. One thing I realized is that language shapes how we think about ourselves. When I used English to talk about my struggles, I wasn't just translating my feelings, I was reshaping them. Putting my pain into words gave me distance from it, and suddenly it didn't feel as overwhelming. It became something I could observe, understand, and eventually heal. It's powerful to recognize that learning a language isn't just an intellectual act, it's a deeply emotional one. For many learners, English isn't just a subject, it's a pathway to personal growth. And that growth often happens quietly, inside the heart and mind. I found that writing in English was like holding a mirror up to my soul. Every sentence was a chance to slow down, to feel, and to discover layers of myself I hadn't noticed before. This kind of reflection doesn't happen when you're rushing or multitasking. It requires patience and presence. Over time, I began to see my English practice as a kind of self-care ritual. It wasn't just about improving fluency, it was about nurturing my inner world. When I wrote about my day, my dreams, or my fears, I was listening to myself with kindness. There were times when my English journal became a safe place to face my darkest thoughts. I could write honestly without fear of judgment. In those pages, I was free to be vulnerable. And vulnerability, I learned, is the beginning of healing. Another surprising discovery was how reading English literature helped me process my emotions. Stories about loss, love, courage, and resilience resonated deeply. They made me feel connected to a universal human experience, reminding me that I wasn't alone in my feelings. Sometimes I would read a passage multiple times, savoring the words and allowing them to sink into my heart. English became a way to find comfort in difficult moments, like a warm blanket wrapping around me when I felt cold inside. Listening to English music was another beautiful way I healed. Songs have a way of expressing what words alone cannot. When I sang along, even imperfectly, I felt an emotional release that was both healing and joyful. What amazed me was that these simple acts, writing, reading, listening, didn't feel like study. They felt like moments of peace, of self-discovery, of connection to something bigger than myself. Sometimes, healing through English meant embracing silence too. I learned to be comfortable not always trying to understand every word, but simply letting the language wash over me. That gentle exposure was a balm to my anxious mind. The more I practiced this emotional approach to English, the more I realized how intertwined language and identity are. Learning English helped me explore who I was and who I wanted to become. It gave me a voice for my evolving self. One of the most important lessons I learned is that healing takes time. Just like mastering a language, healing is a journey with ups and downs. There were days when I felt progress, and days when I felt stuck. But English was always there, patiently waiting for me to return. I also discovered that sharing my English reflections with others created a powerful sense of community. When I posted a poem I loved or a journal entry online, the supportive responses reminded me that healing and learning are shared experiences. This sense of belonging, feeling seen and heard in English, was deeply healing in itself. It gave me courage to keep going even when I felt alone. English also helped me develop self-compassion. Making mistakes used to frustrate me, but through healing, I saw them as signs of effort and growth. I learned to treat myself with the same kindness I would offer a friend. In my English journey, I started to appreciate the small moments, the gentle rhythms of everyday life, the way a phrase felt in my mouth, the quiet joy of understanding a new idea. These moments became anchors of hope and gratitude. Sometimes, when emotions were overwhelming, I'd use English to talk myself through them. Simple phrases like, "I am safe" or "this feeling will pass" became mantras that grounded me. Using English to reflect also helped me break free from negative thought cycles. Writing down what I feared or doubted gave me clarity and perspective. It helped me reframe challenges as opportunities. Healing with English taught me to listen deeply, not just to others, but to myself. It's amazing how a different language can reveal new parts of your inner voice. There was a shift when I stopped chasing perfection and started embracing English as a tool for personal expression. That shift opened doors to emotional freedom I hadn't imagined. Through this process, I found that English is more than a skill, it's a companion on my journey through life. It holds space for my pain, my joy, my growth. Most importantly, healing with English reminded me that progress isn't always visible or measurable. Sometimes the greatest growth happens in the quiet moments when no one else is watching. Now, I see English as a language of possibility. It's a way to rewrite my story with hope and resilience. It's a path toward becoming more whole. If you're feeling overwhelmed or uncertain, I encourage you to try using English as a gentle mirror, a way to explore your feelings, your dreams, and your strength. Remember, healing and learning don't have to be perfect. They just need to be honest. Every time you open a book, write a sentence, or listen to a song in English, you're not just learning a language, you're nurturing your soul. English can be a soft place to land when life feels hard. It can be a way to find yourself when you feel lost. So, be patient with yourself. Allow your English journey to be part of your healing story. It's a beautiful and brave path. When I first started using English as a tool for healing, I didn't realize how deeply connected language and emotion really are. Words carry more than just meaning, they carry energy, memories, and sometimes even the power to change how we feel. Writing about my feelings in English created a space where I could safely explore emotions that felt too overwhelming to face head-on in my native language. It was as if English provided me with a gentle cushion, softening the edges of my pain and making it easier to understand myself. This process of putting feelings into English words was not just about communication, it was about transformation. Each sentence I wrote helped me step back and look at my experiences with new eyes. I could examine my fears, hopes, and regrets from a place of curiosity rather than judgment. This shift in perspective, catalyzed by language, allowed me to grow emotionally and mentally in ways I never expected. Language was no longer just a subject to study, it became a lifeline. One of the most surprising things I discovered was how reading English stories, poems, and essays became a form of therapy. I found myself drawn to characters who struggled and overcame, who loved and lost, who hoped and healed. Their stories felt like mirrors of my own journey, reflecting my feelings and reminding me that pain is universal but so is resilience. Through these narratives, I found comfort and inspiration. They taught me that healing isn't linear, and that it's okay to stumble and fall as long as I keep moving forward. Listening to English music also played a crucial role in my healing journey. Music has a way of bypassing the logical part of our brain and touching the heart directly. Songs that spoke of struggle and hope became anthems for my own emotional process. Singing along, even if I wasn't perfect, gave me a sense of release and joy that words on a page sometimes couldn't. The rhythms and melodies helped me reconnect with myself when I felt fragmented or lost. Over time, I realized that healing through English also meant embracing imperfection. I stopped worrying about grammar mistakes or mispronunciations and focused instead on expressing my truth. This was a huge relief because it removed the pressure that often made language learning feel like a chore or a test. Instead, it became a compassionate practice, one where I could be gentle with myself and celebrate every small step forward. The practice of journaling in English became a daily ritual that grounded me. On good days, I wrote about gratitude, dreams, and joyful moments. On harder days, I allowed myself to pour out sadness, frustration, or confusion. This honest dialogue with myself created a safe container for my emotions. It also helped me track my progress, not just as a language learner, but as a person growing stronger and more self-aware with each passing day. Another important realization was that healing isn't just about processing pain, it's about nurturing hope and possibility. Using English to write or speak about my goals, values, and dreams helped me envision a future beyond my struggles. It gave me the language to articulate what I wanted for myself, which in turn fueled motivation and courage. Language became a bridge from where I was to where I wanted to be. I also found that sharing my English reflections with others, whether in a language exchange, online community, or with a trusted friend, added a layer of connection and validation. Knowing that someone else was reading or listening to my words made my healing feel less isolating. It reminded me that we all carry stories of struggle and growth, and that sharing them can be a source of collective strength. Through this journey, I learned that the act of learning English and the process of healing are intertwined. They both require patience, practice, and kindness toward oneself. Both involve embracing uncertainty and moving forward despite fear. Most importantly, Both teach us that progress isn't always visible, but it's always happening beneath the surface. So, when you think about your own English learning journey, I encourage you to consider it not just as acquiring new skills but as a form of self-care. Use English as a way to listen to your heart, to explore your inner world, and to express your unique story. In doing so, you'll find that language is not just a tool for communication, it's a powerful medium for healing and transformation. Another powerful way English helped me heal was by giving me access to a broader community and new perspectives. When I wrote about my struggles in English, I sometimes shared my thoughts online, in forums or social media groups dedicated to language learners or mental health. The responses I received were often filled with empathy and encouragement from people around the world, many of whom faced similar challenges. This global connection reminded me that I wasn't alone in my feelings or my journey. It also expanded my understanding of how diverse experiences can be, and how healing can take many different forms. I also began to notice that the process of translating my feelings from my native language into English forced me to slow down and think more deeply. I couldn't rely on quick, automatic expressions. I had to find just the right words, the subtle phrases that captured exactly what I wanted to say. This careful reflection became a form of mindfulness, almost like meditation. Instead of rushing through my emotions, I was invited to sit with them, to explore their nuances, and to honor their complexity. In this way, language became not just a tool, but a sacred space for self-discovery. It's interesting to realize how healing through English also helped me build resilience. Facing the challenge of expressing vulnerable feelings in a language I was still learning pushed me out of my comfort zone. It was scary at times, worrying about being judged, misunderstood, or making mistakes. But each time I dared to share my thoughts, I grew stronger. I learned that vulnerability is a source of strength, and that courage doesn't mean never feeling afraid. It means moving forward despite fear. English became a language of bravery, helping me claim my voice in the world. One of the most healing experiences was turning difficult memories into stories. Writing in English, I would revisit painful moments from my past, not to dwell on them, but to rewrite their meaning. I practiced describing those experiences with new language, words that conveyed understanding, forgiveness, or hope instead of pain and shame. This rewriting process helped me change the narrative I told myself about my life. It transformed memories from burdens into lessons, from wounds into wisdom. The act of storytelling in English was deeply liberating. Lastly, I want to highlight how using English for healing invited me to embrace creativity. I started experimenting with poems, letters to my younger self, and even short fictional stories inspired by my feelings. This creative expression broke the rigidity of traditional language learning and allowed me to play with words and emotions in fresh ways. Creativity sparked joy and surprise, reminding me that language learning can be an adventure, not just a task. Healing became a dynamic, living process, fueled by imagination and hope. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Groovy English. I hope my story inspires you to see English as more than a language, but as a companion on your personal journey of healing and reflection. Remember, your feelings are valid. Your pace is perfect. And every step you take, no matter how small, is a step forward. If this episode resonated with you, Please share it with someone who might need to hear it. And don't forget to follow Groovy English for more stories, tips, and encouragement. Until next time, be kind to yourself, stay groovy, and keep growing.
Your English is shining brighter by the minute. Hit that next video to keep leveling up your skills. Or dive into our other episodes for more secrets to talk like a pro. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to join the Groovy English crew.